Two girls, one podcast, and their unsolicited opinions.
Plug in your headphones or find a private space because this content is not safe for work.
Welcome to On Her Bookshelf.
Welcome back, Bookshelf Besties. My name's Julia.
And I'm Christy.
And this week we are actually discussing our March book club pick, which is Bride by Ali Hazelwood.
That was so cute.
I know. So, we picked this book because of our Facebook group, actually. We were originally going to announce Bride as our March book club pick, but then because we'd already done an Ali Hazelwood book in February for, that month's book club, we were like, oh, is it too much Ali Hazelwood?
Yeah.
So we put it to a vote, and as it turns out, everybody wanted more Ali Hazelwood. So this is how we ended up with Bride. So I don't think there really was a lot of real content warnings and stuff like that compared to a lot of, dark romance we read. But did you want to take us through the, content warnings and any tropes that we found throughout this book?
Oh, there was so many good tropes. So we obviously got paranormal romance, shifters, werewolves, vampires.
Fits right into our monster March month of reading.
Loved Ali's take on this whole thing. So fantasy, we had a whole war between the vampires and werewolves, which was pretty cool.
And humans.
Yeah, humans. No.
I actually liked that the vampires weren't one of the top races.
Yeah,
they were one of the
they were
weaker
babies.
ones. Yes.
I loved it. We had a marriage of convenience, which we love. The one bed trope.
Okay. We can barely class that.
It was still a one bed. There was one bed. Okay. It still counts. I was still like, oh boy. We had a slow burn, lots of sexual tension. He falls first. We had fated mates. Found family. We had enemies to lovers, but it was pretty soft. It wasn't really enemies to lovers. It was I think dislike your species to lovers.
Yeah, it's the history between the two species.
Yeah.
That was a forced enemies to lovers in a sense.
So forbidden love, obviously.
Yes.
We had witty banter. Funny FMC. I fucking loved Misery. She was hilarious. For I guess triggers or content warnings, we had nodding.
Yes, we did.
My notes for this was, fuck yes, it's been a while. We had biting, marking, blood drinking, murder, assassination attempts, and grumpy werewolves. That's about it, really.
Yeah, it's actually, I guess, a really easy book if you want to start diving into paranormal romance and stuff. Yeah, she has a few different takes on wares and vampires and everything like that, but I still thought it was, I guess this is her first paranormal book as well. Normally she sticks to contemporary romances with women in STEM kind of main female characters. So this is different to anything she's ever done before. And I think she's done a fantastic job.
Oh, she did amazing. I ate it up.
What did you rate it?
4 stars.
Oh, and spice?
I think 4.
You went 4?
Yeah.
I was also really on the fence about my rating, and for so long I went back and forth between, is this a 4-star? Is this a 5-star?
Yeah.
And I think because I was overthinking the 4-star, 5-star rating, I was 4-star. I ended up settling on 4-star. And I think the big difference between a 4-star and a 5-star for me is a 5-star I cannot put down. I will absolutely binge. With Check and Mate, yeah, I had a bit more of a time limit on when to read and finish it, but I still ate that book up. Whereas with this one, I started it Monday, today is Sunday, and I finished it today. So it's still taking me all week to read it, and yes, I've had a bit of a busier week, but it didn't hook me the way that say Check and Mate, a 5-star did. I still loved it. Yeah. I still loved it hands down. 4 stars is still a great rating.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was just something about it that missed it being a 5-star read for me.
Yeah.
And Spice, I gave it 3.
Really?
I know. Yes. Look, Yes, we had knotting, but I still only deemed it a 3-star. And I am happy to debate that in this episode.
I'm not gonna argue with it. 4 stars for the spice, hands down. It was just fucking brilliant. It was fucking.
It was. I think it was it the tension that like brought it up to that 4-star?
Yes. Such sexual tension. Yep. I loved it. I still loved this book so much. I only didn't give it a 5 stars because it was just like the difference between like a 5 and a 4 is like.
It's pretty close.
It was so close. And I did the same thing. I debated between is it a 4, is it a 5, is it a 4, is it a 5? I don't know if it's a 5 from the start, it's not a 5.
I was even just like, is it 4.5 stars?
Yeah.
But then I happily settled on 4 stars. And yeah, you're right. It's just because I was going back and forth between is it a 4, is it a 5? I think you just know in your head when it's a 5-star read. Yeah. And it just wasn't that for me. And that's okay.
It's still fucking brilliant. Please don't read this book again.
I will probably end up reading this again one day as well. So
well, I did. Yes. I read it yesterday just so I could like rehash what happened, and I still thoroughly enjoyed it. Like my notes for this is just fucking unhinged.
So many. She had a freaking essay on it.
But it's not even an essay. It's just like every time I read something I loved, I'm like, he what? She what? Fucking brilliant book. Ali Hazelwood, you are amazing.
Okay. Enough gushing for now. Do you want to, I guess, summarize the world that is Bride?
Okay, so we've got Misery. She's a vampire. So yeah, vampire is a little bit different to our sort of take in vampires, I guess. Still burn in the sunlight, but not, like...
They're not going to burn to death. Yeah, shoot up in flames. I don't know if you caught it, but there was a line in there about not sparkling in the sun.
There was a few Twilight references, and I was actually reading somewhere that Ali's actually a big, like, Twilight fan. So, like, the little nuggets, I was like... This girl's my fan.
That was the main one that I picked up on when, she was describing, like, the vampire race. And they're like, yeah, we can go out in the sunlight, but, we'll burn, like, as in we'll get really bad sunburn and it'll hurt like a motherfucker. But yeah, it was the fact that she mentioned we don't, like, sparkle or anything like that. I was like, amazing, I'm gonna like this.
Yeah. Misery's character was just brilliant.
Also, what kind of a name is Misery?
I loved it!
I loved it, but I thought with, like... Look at the other vampire names. Her brother was named Owen. Her twin brother was named Owen. Yeah. And she got Misery.
Wild.
What kind of luck of the draw was that? Amazing name, though, nonetheless.
Fits her perfectly, honestly. Because her life was miserable.
Yes. But, like, I thought when we got introduced to Misery that, okay, maybe this is a thing with, like, vampire names. They're named after, like, non-existent feelings that they have or something. But no, her father is just an asshole.
Yeah, really. And then we've got the werewolves. So Lo is the alpha of a pack. I think it's
the Southwest pack.
I love Lo. But interesting take on the wolves as well. Like, their blood is green.
Yeah, and vampire's blood is purple.
Yeah.
But yeah, the different coloured blood I thought was super interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. I was like, I like this a lot. But also...
It's genetic. Yeah. That's the main thing as well, is that being a vampire, being a werewolf, even being a human, it's all just genetic. It's not like a werewolf is going to bite you and then you turn into a werewolf on the next full moon, or if you get bitten by a vampire you don't turn into a vampire either. So it's this whole genetic thing, like they actually just give birth to their race, which I thought was cool. And another thing as well with vampires is that they mainly feed from blood bags. Yeah,
they don't feed from humans. It's very rare that they do because, quote unquote, they don't like the hassle. A lot of them don't even know how to. Like, Misery doesn't even know how to bite into a human. Like, the thought of it disgusts her.
Something else that I really liked is there is a lot of stereotypes that is used within here that are all just myths.
Yeah, which I loved. Love the whole debunking of the myths. Another thing to note as well, like, the vampires are pretty weak compared to the werewolves. The werewolves are bigger, stronger, faster, hotter. And then you got the humans.
Yeah.
They're just humans.
They don't really play a big role in this.
Apart from, like, they're all kind of at war. Not at war. They had a war years back, and now it's kind of like they've all got their alliances, but it's all very thin. It's all very... They still cross the line, each of them. Like, you know, vampires killing humans, and humans killing vampires, and humans trying to kill werewolves.
There's a lot of fighting between the different
There's a lot
races.
of fighting.
And even though they have these alliances, they're not very, I guess, strong, because there is still a lot of death happening between the races.
Yeah.
A lot of unnecessary death.
Since the last war, they introduced a thing called the collateral between the vampires and humans, where every 10 years they would essentially swap a child. So a vampire child would go live in the human world and vice versa, and they would keep them as collateral. And if anything between the alliance were to break, they could just kill that kid.
That would be the first to die.
Yeah.
I thought this was fucking harsh to send a child into literally enemy territory to be like, okay, well, if your race fucks up, we're gonna murder you.
Literally.
Have a great life.
Literally. They take them when they're 8, and they keep them for 10 years. So at 18, they're free to go home back to their world,
But
I
they've
guess.
essentially been raised by a different race at this point.
Yes.
We should point out, Misery was like the second last
collateral.
And she's a pretty shitty vampire because of it.
Yeah.
Because she spent 10 years getting raised by humans, and then as soon as like her collateral time was done, she, like, everybody back home hated her.
Yeah, they
which
shunned her.
Which I thought was just so disheartening, because the whole thing with vampires in this world is that they think about the best thing for their species. Like, it's for the best of the entire people.
Yeah.
So Misery getting sent away is just like, well, think about the best of our people. It's not just like her like feelings or anything didn't really come first. If it was for the better of their people.
Tough shit.
Yeah.
Her describing the alliances, and if it were to ever fail, the same caregivers that had taught her to ride a bike would then drive a knife through her heart.
It's fucking brutal.
Literally.
And yeah, I thought it was so disheartening that even after that 10-year stint was over, she couldn't even go back home and be celebrated by her race. They shunned her.
Yeah,
She ended up living with her best friend back in the human territory, essentially hiding all of her vampire features.
Yeah.
But she essentially considers Serena, her best friend, essentially the only like found family in the sense that she has. It's her sister to her. And Serena was a orphan child who was essentially told to go live with the collateral because Misery was being a real brat of a kid.
Yeah. Which I loved. And also, like, bad idea because Serena's just as bad.
Yes.
I really loved that dynamic though.
Same.
And everything she would do for her sister. A little bit of history with the wolves. The pack leader of the Southwest pack, Roscoe, actually got recently defeated by Lo. He challenged him.
Yeah, in the traditional kind of werewolf way.
Fight to the death.
Pretty much.
You know, just alpha things. And
also, the humans have elected a new governor as well. So there's been a lot of shift in like political leadership across all the races recently, which leads to the new governor of the humans not wanting to do another collateral term with the vampires. And because there's been a new shift in leadership in the Wares as well, alliances are very rocky at the moment.
Very volatile situation.
Yeah, that's the word. So we end up with a new collateral situation alliance.
Yeah.
Because we haven't talked about why we care about Serena so much. And this plot point took me off guard because I wasn't expecting it at all about the book. Again, I don't read the backs of books.
Part?
Serena went missing.
Yeah.
That part. So Serena goes missing and nobody believes Misery. Like, she's tried to do police reports. No one will do anything about it because at the end of the day, Serena is still an orphan. The only person that she has in the world is Misery. And yes, while Misery has family, like back in the vampire world, she doesn't consider them to care enough about her. So, you know, Misery and Serena are two people in this world that only kind of have each other at this point. Serena has been missing for a little while now. When she gets called, when, you know, Misery gets called into her father's office and starts talking about all the political changes that are happening recently, and then drops the bombshell that, oh, by the way, there's going to be a wedding. And he kind of just like brushes over the details. And then Misery kind of realizes what's happening, and it's just like, who's getting married? Who is getting married?
You are!
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Hey, daughter, you're going to be the collateral again. Except this time you're not going to humans. You're going to go marry a werewolf.
Yeah, where they hate our species and they'll probably kill you on the spot.
Yeah. And the only reason Misery agreed to it is because of the new alpha's name.
Mm-hmm.
And this is because when Serena went missing, the initials that were like scribbled on a discarded piece of paper was the same as the new werewolf alpha. So she's just kind of gone, yeah, it's like L.E. Morland. And she's like, when she's told, you know, the were-husband is going to be Low Morland, she's like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because it's,
sign me up.
It's the only like step forward she's got so far into possibly finding Serena. I know. Because it kept... Misery, like, has these thoughts that keep going back to, like, Serena and her last fight before she disappeared. Misery agrees to marry Low, and they never actually meet before the... Oh, this is why you liked it so much. It's very much Married at First Sight. You're obsessed.
I didn't even pick up on
You're
that.
obsessed with that show.
Wow, I would watch the shit out of this shit. Imagine a shift to Married at First Sight. Oh,
Yes.
Married at First Sight.
Yes. Okay. It's also, yeah, the whole marriage of convenience. It's for the alliance. It's only meant to be for a year. You know, we're just trying to have a truce between vampires and werewolves.
And they also hold a collateral. So the vampires take a werewolf. They take the mate
Yes.
of the
Lowe's
werewolves.
mate. I need to ask you, when did you figure out that Misery was actually Lowe's mate?
In the epilogue. Prelogue. In the prelogue. Look what you've done. In the prelogue.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Same. It was that everything that was described with like her scent hitting him, and she just thought she stunk. Like,
Stanky
I guess
girl.
like vampires really do smell to werewolves. I'm gonna have like 3-hour baths when I get to werewolf territory. But it was like his eyes dilated and like he got all tense and had even said something like, why do you smell like that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like got all up in her face, and she's like, whoa.
Literally, I was just like, are they fated mates?
That I was like, they're totally mates with every way that he's reacting. That I did have a little bit of a doubt for a minute because obviously she had like something green painted on like her wrists and pulse points. I'm like, oh, okay, did they maybe use the blood of his mate? Because it was hinted at in the next scene that the collateral from the wares was his mate.
I never even thought of that. That's brutal.
I know. Because it was very much like, why do you smell like that? So I'm like, okay, smell makes something familiar. But it was only like the briefest like cross of my mind. Because like in everything, and look, I tabbed this book. I had a physical book, so I tabbed it. And all the little red bits, like at the start, there's a lot of red. That was all the hints we were getting towards them being mates. It was very obvious from the beginning.
Misery's just fucking dumb.
She was so dense. And maybe that's just like Ali Hazelwood writing her female main characters. Because again, we got another like witty, full of banter, absolute sass queen.
Yes.
And so smart as well. She has like an IT degree.
Yeah.
But she could not put 2 and 2 together. She just thought she stunk to low this whole time.
Yeah. Fucking idiot. Skip ahead. She thinks he hates her. She's just like, oh, okay, whatever. Romance is dead, you know. When she moves to Ware territory, we're introduced to Anna.
I love Anna.
I know, she was my favourite. Lowe's little sister.
And absolutely no fear of vampires either.
Just no filter either. I fucking, she's brilliant. She's 7 and she's just like, I don't care.
Also, pretty much adopted the cat that Misery took with her. I say the cat
Sparkles.
because it's not actually Misery's cat. It was Serena's cat who she had for like 2 days before she went missing. But of course, Misery took the cat with her to show that, you know, she does care for something.
Yeah.
But the cat hates her. So,
Yeah,
the cat essentially went to like live and love Anna instead.
Brilliant.
And named Sparkles. And the unique thing that we like soon discover about Anna is that Anna isn't actually fully aware. So this was like another like interesting little plot point that was moving through the story was Anna wasn't fully aware. She was actually a hybrid. She was half human, half werewolf. And it was a big secret amongst like Lo and his pack, and not actually a lot of people are aware of this fact. But throughout like the story, we keep getting told and we get these perspectives from attempts on Anna's life. And Lo and everyone thinks it's the Loyalists, which are like a bunch of wares that don't exactly agree with the shift in power with the new Alpha. So we go on this like journey through the book where we are believing it's the Loyalists that are the, I guess, the main enemy, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the conflict is coming from these people.
Yeah. Part of it is.
Part of it's kind of true. Part of it, but not all of it.
First day in Ware territory, she has an assassination attempt from one of
The
Lo's pack members.
which ended up being like a Loyalist supporter.
It's also when we find out that Misery's a virgin, which I thought was hilarious.
But it made so much sense about her character too, because, you know, she lived among humans for majority of her life, and obviously she didn't really feel right lying to a human that she was actually a vampire. And then like the vampires never accepted her, so she never deemed any like relationships with them. I loved that she was a virgin.
I loved it so much. Okay, there's a scene where I think it's when he like pulls her into the office just after the assassination attempt, and he's like kind of grilling her, and she makes a joke, like they're having their little banter, and then like when she's done, she turns to leave, and when she turns back, he's full like all I could think of is Twilight, like Edward, like oh, you're stinky,
Like as he's taking this deep breath,
and like she was like, I took a bath, did it not make it better? And he's just like, it hasn't improved for me. And then that was kind of like cementing that her scent is driving him wild.
yeah. And like I kind of get why she was put on this like stray idea that the person in like the vampire territory was actually his mate.
Yeah.
But there was so many other hints throughout the whole book that made it obvious from the beginning. I gotta say as well, on top of like Misery's banter, there was like this. Okay, so she obviously starts to become like friends with the wares and becomes accepted by them. And, you know, this is where like the whole found family trope comes into play, because she's actually starting to really enjoy her time there, even though she's not doing an awful much. She's actually starting to begin to, you know, have conversations with these wares, and they're not outwardly frightened of her, except for Alex.
I literally had notes about Alex. I loved
and
everything
Misery
about them.
just like 100% leaned into any vampire stereotype, because Alex just thought he was gonna get like his blood sucked and get drained to death by Misery, and Misery just fucked with him the entire book.
It was brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. I loved it so much. It was like one of my favorite side characters.
Yeah. And I think the best part as well is with everything that's happening with like Anna and the alliances, Misery and Alex end up working together because they're both like real like tech gurus. Like they really understand like IT and coding and hacking and everything like that. So the fact that we had this forced proximity between like these two characters, which one got absolute like so much amusement out of fucking with the other, was hilarious.
It was really well done.
Misery had some great one-liners.
Oh, she really did. The whole
personality.
Yeah, everything. Just I giggled the whole time. She's hilarious.
Yeah. Again, this was another book by, Ali Hazelwood that I found myself just laughing out loud. And it's so much fun reading a book that brings like that much joy.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And relatable in a sense. Obviously not 100% relatable because I'm not a vampire, forced into a marriage of convenience, but relatable. We get a scene where Misery actually saves Anna from one of the loyalists.
And I think that was a big turning point where they started to understand that Misery wasn't there as like a spy or out to get them or anything like that. And because she actually went out into the sunlight
Yeah, dragged the fuck out of
to
herself.
save Anna from like a kidnapping attempt, that all the Wares started trusting her.
So sweet.
I think after that we get a few scenes where like Misery and Lo travel to the Loyalist, to like the old Alpha's mate, and they do like some weird, real like behind the scenes spy stuff. But it was like I loved this because it was like during this dinner they had to go sneak off so they could plant like their spyware, and they did it all under like the ruse that Misery had to feed, because obviously they're having dinner, she doesn't eat like actual food, and so Lo and Misery get up to go like break into an office to plant the spyware, and they need like 6 minutes or something so small like that, but they actually hear footsteps and are about to get interrupted, and they're trying to think like, okay, well, what are we going to say? What are we going to do? We're about to get caught in this office where we're not supposed to be. And Lo's just like, feed from me. Like, you're meant to be feeding. Feed from me. And Misery's like, I've never done this before. I'm a crappy vampire. How does this even work? But then it happens.
Oh, it was hot. It was so fucking hot.
Oh my God.
There were so many scenes where I was like, oh boy. Like when they're in the plane and he has to mark her
Oh my
before
God.
going to this.
Ali Hazelwood knows how to ride sexual tension. Holy Jesus.
I was on the verge of my seat, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was some wonderful moments between Misery and Lo as their relationship developed, as, he started letting himself kind of accept what was happening, but also still trying to keep Misery at arm's length. And Misery was just like, but what about your mate and like with the vampires?
And he never confirmed nor denied.
But he did confess to Misery that yes, he had a mate, but the mate was unaware. So it wasn't like we were experiencing any like cheating kind of tropes either. No, their whole relationship was just so well done.
Yeah. Tension. She is a tension queen. But it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And there's just so many scenes. Like, she ends up getting poisoned. And he, is so worried about her. And she lives, it's fine. He takes care of her. And, there's a scene where he bathes her.
And he can't let go of her ankle. And it almost feels like he's caressing it. So there was so many hints that he was just head over heels into her.
Yeah. Well, he ends up fucking finger banging her in the bath, so obviously. There's so many things, just so many he was filthy. He was a filthy man when he actually got to it.
Okay, but what about when they started to actually do stuff together,
Yeah.
More than just kissing and more than just feeding. We had moments where, because he didn't want to have sex with her because he was worried that he would hurt her
With his not.
because we're two different species, Mercy.
It wouldn't work, and I don't want to hurt you, and this doesn't always happen, and he didn't want to admit that it only happens when you're around your mate.
Mm-hmm. And then we get some really funny sex scenes where he ends up coming in his pants at one stage, and also before they actually have sex, like she kind of helps like jack him off to help like so he can show her his knot and what happens and why they're not compatible, and obviously like comes all over like his stomach or something like that. And then when they finally do fuck in like her apartment, he obviously pulls out before the knot happens and like comes all over her back. And she's like, I'm gonna go have a shower. And he's like, no, and starts like smearing it into her back.
I want everyone to smell like you're mine. It's a trope that I fucking love, and I don't know why. And then that's where she kind of finally fucking clicks, and it's just like, I'm the mate.
Yeah.
Duh. And she admits it. She's like, it's me, isn't it? I'm the mate. Like,
No, I'm the mate. I'm
your mate. Like, I love you too, or whatever. And he's like, no, you're not.
No.
He fully denies it.
Sorry if I misled you. We can never be anything more than this. He was a real asshole. But
Literally came on her back and left.
Yeah.
Low, you prick.
So they like went to Misery's apartment together, and he ends up like leaving without her and sends somebody else to go collect her, who ends up being Mick, which is meant to be one of Lo's like trusted seconds, and he ends up drugging Misery. And when Misery like wakes up, she can tell that she's locked in an attic somewhere. No windows, can't tell where, but knows that she's definitely in an attic. And who is in the room with her?
Her best friend. Serena.
She's finally found Serena. And they have this, I loved the friendship between Serena and Misery, because even though, like, yeah, they've both been kidnapped, Serena's been there like 3 months by now. They just start chatting about like their last fight. And do you forgive me? Like, I've had so much time to think about it locked in this like cage.
Yeah.
It's so wholesome.
I loved their friendship.
But it also didn't take them long to trick one of their captors and escape out of the room. And I thought, fuck, Misery, you've been there 5 minutes, and between the two of you, you've now broken out. And fucking poor Serena was there for 3 months.
Yeah, rough. Also, like, little backtrack, I was so disappointed that it was Mick.
Same.
I loved Mick so much. I feel like everyone was disappointed.
Oh, okay.
But
so when Mick injected her, I didn't know it. My brain went straight to, oh my god, is he with the loyalist? Like, I didn't realize he was a loyalist because he was, I think, the only one of Roscoe, like the former Alpha's second, that he was the only one that supported Lo. So I was like, fuck, that could have been like the whole play from the beginning, is like gain his trust.
yeah.
And then I was just like, wait, but maybe, because I did like Mick's character, I was like, okay, but maybe he's knocked her out to take her to a secret location to keep her safe, and she just can't know for her safety where she is. I was trying to like give him the benefit of the doubt.
I didn't even go there. I just thought, fuck you, Mick.
Yeah, so I was like, that sucked. But as it turned out,
he was getting blackmailed, so we'll forgive him.
Yeah, he was getting blackmailed. They had his son, so there was reasons he did the shitty things he did, but still shitty.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is one of the reasons why I gave it 4 stars, because I normally don't see like the plot twists coming, but I think I was about like 100 pages from the end, and I started having this thought that I was just like, I wonder if Misery's dad is just behind everything.
Did you actually?
I did, because I'm like, the guy's an asshole and he's manipulative, and he just seems to like have like a latch into everything. And it was just a passing thought that I had. And then of course it ended up being Misery's dad that was behind everything. He'd kidnapped Serena. It wasn't actually the loyalist, like, the loyalist did some like shitty things, but
he like thralled everyone. He, like, mind tricked all these different people. He had control over the current governor. He had control of certain wolves. Like he wove himself into everything.
And he'd been playing the long game. So as it turns out, Serena is actually a hybrid like Anna as well. Yeah. And she was purposely given to keep Misery company all those years ago as the collateral so that Misery's dad could keep an eye on this hybrid that he discovered. And, like, okay, yes, I guessed that Misery's dad was behind everything, but I just did not see the depth to the scheming. That caught me by surprise.
Yeah, that was insane. Definitely the long game. Also, what didn't catch me is, what didn't catch me by surprise was Serena being hybrid. I thought from the start, I was just like, she's hybrid or she's werewolf.
Really?
Yeah.
I
thought she had fucked off because it was a full moon.
I didn't see it coming. But then it made sense when they're explaining everything. It made sense that, well, I mean, it wasn't obvious to me, but it all added up in the end. So I loved the overall story and journey and conflict and everything that we went through. And then we got this badass fight scene that kind of did a fade to black moment.
Yeah.
Where Serena and Lo shifted to kill all the vampires.
Yeah, distracting kill.
And in the end, like, Owen, Misery's twin brother, ends up stepping up to take over the leadership for the vampires. And Misery doesn't want to know, but we know behind closed doors that between Owen and Lo, they kill Misery and Owen's dad.
I don't think they kill him. They hold him
somewhere. Oh, okay.
She says she doesn't want to know what you do with him.
That's true. Misery doesn't know. I'm assuming that they kill him. You're assuming he stays alive.
I reckon. They could be, the way it ended, there's going to be another book. There's 100%
going to be another. We'll get to that in a moment. But we do get a happily ever after between Lo and Misery. And we finally get a scene where they fuck and he knots her. I don't know the correct term, but it was awkwardly hot.
Yeah, it was hot as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. And then when he was just like, I want to mark you, like, I want to bite you.
I'm gonna come where I'm supposed to.
Oh, there's so many lines. My beautiful mate coming all over my knot. You'll be good for me and let me.
Maybe I've read, like, I don't know, I kind of found that whole sex scene between them, like, ever so slightly awkward.
Really?
That's maybe why I only gave it, like, a 3 stars. Like, yes, we had knotting, but I still found, like, their sex a little bit awkward.
Oh, I was screaming. I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
There were some scenes that were just flat out hot, and then others I was just like, oh, okay. It's a new situation here, like, it's gonna be awkward between them.
No,
Loved it nonetheless.
It was fucking brilliant.
And, so yeah, I think in the end, like, Misery and Serena go to live with Lo, and yeah, like you said, we may get a book 2 at one point, because it ends with one of Lo's, like, longtime friends, basically kind of father figure, walking into Lo's house, and this smell, like, hits him. And as it turns out, Cohen and Serena are mates, and it basically just ends like that, because the thing about Cohen is, like, yeah, he's like a side character, but he's also taken a vow of celibacy, being like the alpha of his territory. So I think we're going to get a book 2. I think I'm going to read the shit out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just kind of excited to see where this world goes to. But also, this is still a nice book on its own. Yeah. Easily could happily be left as is. But it's open to the fact that there is going to be more.
Definitely open to interpretation, because when I first read the ending with Cohen kind of being just like, whoa, it literally ends with like, well, I'm fucked, all right. I didn't know if it meant she was his mate or his daughter.
No!
Like, the way it ended, I was like, this could be either way, because she was trying to find her parents the whole time. That's why she got kidnapped. Like, she was looking into things she shouldn't be looking into. And I was like, what if? But then I was like, or it could be a mate, or it could be, I don't know.
I'm going on it's a mate. It's definitely a mate.
Or it could be father. We don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. 4 stars for me.
4 stars for me.
And 3 stars for Spice. But I still highly recommend this book.
It was so fucking filthy. It was fucking brilliant.
You're just weak for dirty talk.
I'm so weak for it. But hands down, will recommend this book to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, dear listeners, if you're looking for a paranormal romance that's a little bit different to some, a good introduction into the kind of shift of romance and nodding, lots of witty banter as well. If you're looking for something that's going to make you laugh, give it a go.
Yeah, we highly recommend Bride by Ali Hazelwood. And I guess we will talk to you guys next week. For now, happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.